Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial how to model and design this furniture piece in Shapr3D. We will start with a more conceptual approach, how to ideate and block out all the design elements for this top part. Then I will show you a more refined sketching and modeling approach for this bottom part with all these additional details. I will talk a lot about sketching and modeling strategies, tips and tricks. We will learn how to create basic drawings for individual parts or complete units. And we will finish everything by creating a really nice and attractive looking product presentation like this one. And with all that said, let's get going. Before we get started, let's make sure that our unit system is set to inches and all our snapping elements are turned on. Let's go to our front view. We will start with a very basic rectangular sketch, diagonal, and from the scene origin, I draw a rectangle to the left side. And while I'm drawing it on the keyboard, I type in 16, tab 6 and enter. That creates a rectangle already with the vertical and horizontal linear dimension added to it. Then I would like this to move over by 2 inches. So I click on the arrow, select 2 and enter. And I would like this to go up by 18 inches. I did this because now this rectangular sketch is in three-dimensional space already positioned where I would like to 3D model. Let's create our concept for the open drawer. So we can select this sketch profile and then we drag this back by 16 inches. This beautiful cube I would like now to core out. So we can select the front face, select shell, drag this one down, or on the keyboard type in 0.5 inches. Look at this. We turned this boring cube into a really interesting, already informative concept model of how this open drawer could look like. Obviously, for manufacturing purpose, we also need to have the left, right, bottom, top, and the back plates all visible. So let me show you how we can create those really fast. I will select this interface, then go to More, go to Split Body, select the body, and click Done. We rotate around. You can see what happened. It actually selected this face, turned it kind of like into a knife, and then it split the whole body. This command does show actually the sketch plane. So let's hide it. Then we will do one split on top. There we are. You can also call commands by typing them. So I selected the face, then I type SP. And look at this, here's split body. This is actually very useful when you work further away from where the toolbar is. There. Beautiful. At this point, it makes sense to organize everything a little bit. You can see how I dragged everything into one folder, and then I'm going to rename this folder. There. Very nice. This top face should have an opening, and inside is a glass plate. Let me show you how we do this. I will select this face, isolate that body with the isolate command. This hides everything else. And when we take a look at the bottom, you see we already have these body edges there. So this means I can select this edge, go to offset single, and do an offset 1/2 inch to the inside. Now, here I have a sketch profile, and if I extrude this one up by 1/2 inch, you see this cuts through it. If we would put a glass plate in there, it would fall through. That's not what we want. So let's change this to new body. And then this new body, we want to rename. So things will be very easy to find. Let's exit the isolate mode. Select the glass plate one more time. Turn on isolate mode. And this glass plate, we have to make thinner, 1/4 of an inch. So you see, I just selected the lower face and changed the dimension. Now, take a look at this. I will select this lower face one more time. Click extrude, type in 0.5, 0.25, I'm sorry, and then change the mode to new body. This is actually going to be the geometry that is cutting the smaller opening. So you see I selected all the outer faces and then I type in -0.25. So I'm shrinking the sides by a 1/4 inch. Okay, now exit isolate. We can open this view. This sketch we don't really need anymore. And now from this top plate, I would like this smaller body to be removed. And we can select elements in here or in the 3D view and then go to subtract. I don't need the original. And now there we have the opening. Beautiful. Top part, glass plate. One more time, subtract. In this case, I would like to keep the glass plate body. There, you see, very easy. And then we can move this one to there. Very good. And that is actually how easy it is to create this body part. Let me show you now how we can create very quickly in a more detailed way the second drawer design. We go to the front view, turn off this folder, show the sketch. I will select these 2 lines, press lock, so these lines can't move anymore. Go to line command, and then I start drawing a rectangle really fast. The last few lines I drew a little bit crooked on purpose. Press escape 2 times, then I can select all these lines and make sure they're horizontal and vertical. That actually straightens them. To make things a little bit easier, I don't have to dimension everything. I can simply give an equal constraint between similar lines. Look at this. Now this is 16. This is 16. And between here and here, I would like to have a 4-inch distance. Very good. So you see, by having these 2 lines first locked, that whole first rectangle didn't really move. And then I could use the constraints to very quickly create a perfect shape for the second rectangle. Now, I know already I have 1/2 of an inch top, bottom, and 1/2 an inch left and right side plates. So I can go to line command, draw here my individual lines very quickly. There we are. Very good. Here again, I drew everything a little bit more dirty to show you how quickly we can adjust everything. This should be 1/2 of an inch. This distance should be 1/2 of an inch. Same here. And here. Perfect. Very nice. So now what we can do is I will select tandem faces, there we are, and extrude them by -16. Then I can select these 2 and extrude them by -16. Perfect. The front we will extrude by 0.5. That's actually the material thickness. But now this back plate is sitting actually at the wrong position. So let's double click, move this back. Let me show you something. We can then select this edge, and simply say align. and it moves this part right into the position. Beautiful. So you see, it didn't really matter that our initial sketch with the back plate was actually at the front. There we are. Very good. Also here we can select everything, put those into a folder, and then we give this folder a name. There we are. Very good. Beautiful. Now, the advantage of this process is I have this cube here. I can bring this to there. Let me show you something. Oh, very quickly now we create actually the drawer that goes to the inside. I will show this and this. This body here will select and hide. I would like this distance to close. So I use, as you can see, the replace face command to replace this face to this face. There we are. Now, to make this into a drawer that we can pull out, I select two faces and say shell, 0.5 inches. There we are. Very good. Okay. Let's show this part again. When we would like to have also a drawer face, I would like to stick over a little bit. So these faces, which I'm selecting here right now, we can select and move backwards by 1/2 inch. I would like to show you something. This top open drawer I hide, because now I can very easily draw a selection over this front, and then via tab I decide what am I selecting. I select it from the left to the right, so everything that's inside the selection will be selected, just these faces, and then minus 0.5. And that moved it all back. You see? If you have 2 or 3 faces, you can very easily select them via the mouse by clicking on them. If you have more faces, as you see, it's easier to just do a draw select. Now we can turn on this first sketch here and then select all these individual faces. There we are. And extrude this back by 1/2 inch. Very nice. These elements I put into the bottom drawer, hide this, and now I can, for example, select this, this. I'm doing an organizational cleanup. So all those elements I put into a new group. Maybe call this frame or box. And there is actually now our drawer. There. Very good. Let's show all these parts. And you see, that is actually how easy it is to create something in a more conceptual or with a more detailed sketch to work more precisely. At this point, it makes sense to think about the frame everything sits on. So let's go to the front view. We'll turn off the boxes, show the sketch. Here, I will select these 2 lines and lock them so they can't move. Go to the line command and kind of like 2 inches in down there. So there you see here, I draw a line over, go to here, draw a line up there. So this is kind of like our bottom frame. And then from here, kind of 2 inches over to there. So this is kind of like my one line. This line I can remove now. This was more like a little bit of a helper. So I would like to do the same on the other side. I do not have here, however, because it's a different height point, I can't just from here to there draw a line, but I can do the same up here because this is at the same height point. Very good. Same thing, I can delete this line there now too. Very good. Now we can go to single offset. Give this an offset of 1.25 inches. Same here. 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches. There we are. Same here. And then with the trim command, we will go ahead and cut everything off that we don't really need. So you see, this is actually super easy. A little bit of pre-planning, escape, and then these lines we can select and delete. This line I will bring over and snap onto there. From here, I draw simply a line. There, one more trim and clean this up. There we are. Beautiful and perfect. Everything is perfectly symmetrical and it fits. Very nice. Now, exit the sketch. This profile we will bring back via extrusion to minus 1.25. To make this whole design look a little bit nicer, we can select these inner edges here and give them a nice rounding, like 1 inch. And we do the same here. Very good. Double click this whole piece, we bring over by 2 inches. Show the parts, hide the rest. There we are. Now this looks really good. Let me show you something. Now we can make a copy. Bring this copy over. I will move this down a little bit. And now I would like this to perfectly align. We can select this edge and select this edge. Go to align. That centers the two lines. But when I move this one down at one point, you will see it snaps onto it. So this way I was able to snap actually everything together right into this corner. Very nice. Very good. Here we need to have a little bit of a board. So we can show the sketch one more time. There we are. We have here this line. There's actually also the midpoint. It might help to hide everything else for the moment. So we can just focus on the drawing part. And then here I will start drawing a board up, over and down. There we are. Here's a little trick. I will lock these two parts. You see we have midpoints there. From there to there, select, escape. This line I make horizontal. This line I make horizontal. Vertical. And then this dimension we set to 0.5. That pulls it down. And then this line I remove. So I use actually these midpoints to center everything. Very good. We can clean this up to, we want, let's say, 7 inches. Obviously, we should have done this 7 inches before I did this, but just you can see this is actually very easy to do. There, perfect. Very good. Okay, now we show all these parts. There we are. Okay, and then this I will extrude back. Minus 16. Very good. Hide this. This board I will match via replace face onto there, so it's perfectly flush and it's a little bit more inside. So I don't really work with dimensions or measurements. I simply use the replace face to match this. And then if I want, so this is 14, 15, we give this a 1 inch overhang. Very good. Okay, beautiful. So you see, this is actually how quickly then we can create also a frame construction everything sits on by using a very simplistic sketching approach, trim everything, and then extrude and use the align command to position everything into space. With most of the conceptual and creative exploration being done, this is now the correct moment when we can be concerned about more technical elements like joinery. So let me show you how we can create between this left and the top and the bottom plate a nice wooden dowel connection. So I'll select this face, go to isolate. Then I will select this top face, go to sketch. There we are. I go here to this area, go to circle, and on this midpoint, I start drawing a circle. 0.333, kind of like 1/3 of an inch. Enter. There we are. Very nice. I will select both halves and extrude this up to 1 inch as a new body. This is my wooden dowel. And I would like this wooden dowel to go in by -2. Very good. So we also need to have a wooden dowel on the back. We could make a sketch there and then do the same thing. But we know that this is 16 inches, for example. That's 2 inches and 2 inches. So 12 inches of a distance. From here to there, we need to have another wooden dowel. We can select this, go to linear pattern, bring this over to 12, and then via quantity, take a look at this. We can fill that space, or we simply set this to 2. There we are. Beautiful. The sketch we don't need anymore. I delete it. Here's my linear pattern. This is a 1 inch dowel. It sits on top of it. And it has to go in by 3/4 of an inch, because 1/4 of an inch, it intersects or goes into the top plate. So I click on this up arrow, minus 0.75. I would like to have now at the perfect position also the 2 dowels at the bottom. This is very easy. Check this out. I select the top and the bottom face, then create a construction plane at the midpoint. Select my 2 wooden dowels, go to more union, click this plane, done. There we are. This construction plane I don't need anymore. Here are my wooden dowels. I put both into one folder. Very good. Stop the isolation mode, clean this up, rename this. There we are. And this is inside the top open drawer. So I move this one into this folder. There we are. Now I can select this body and then the folder with the dowels. Subtract, keep remove bodies. Yes, this is obviously what we want. There, look at this. Perfect. Can do the same with the bottom. So this is the bottom plate, dowel, and subtract. So you see, I do not create any sketches for all the holes. I create the holes via a Boolean calculation. Very good. And that is how easy, for example, you can create the wooden dowels right at the correct position. We can now take a look at the drawer. Isolate it, and on this face and this face, there I would like to cut a groove in. And inside those 2 grooves, then we can put in a piece of geometry so this drawer can slide on it. That's very easy to do. So here we select this face, go to sketch, and then we can do this centered or a little bit lower. It's up to you to decide. So from this midpoint here, I draw a line, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and escape, and escape. These 2, 3 lines I will make vertical, horizontal aligned, and this I will set to 0.25, so 1/2 inch. Very good. Cool, very nice. So this geometry piece, I will now cut like minus 14 inches. Very good. Nice and big. So this is actually they're very stable for the piece to move on. And after this cut, I will extrude the filler piece. There we are. Beautiful. Okay, very nice. Now this element, I will double click and I would like to bring this over to here. To do this very easy, we can select these two faces and then go to add plane. There we are. Then I double select this one more time, select this plane and mirror this over. Beautiful. Okay, this plane we don't need anymore. We can remove it. Now from this box, I would like this and this piece to be removed. Subtract. Keep remove bodies. Yes, there we are. Okay, very good. Now this is a perfect fit. It's a little bit too tight. We need to add some tolerance to it. So I will exit the isolation mode. And here I will hide everything there. This sketch we don't need anymore. We can delete. And what I will do now is I will select this and this face, and then this face and this face, and this interior face, same here. There and there. Very good. This is all perfect. This we do not select. And then everything we want to shrink a little bit, because in this way we create a small cavity and tolerance. 0.02 is fine. So I type in minus 0.02 and shrink the part. Very good. Very good. Okay, nice. So these two elements, they actually go into this frame element here, there. So when we take a look from the front, there we are. Beautiful. And then when we take a look at the frame inside, and we are going to hide this part and then zoom in, there we can see there's a little bit of a small tolerance. And this is basically then how we can create the tolerances for all the objects where we need them. So you see, it's actually quite easy. Once everything is modeled, it makes sense to create the technical drawings for manufacturing purpose. And also this is very easy to do in Shapr3D. And in addition, because we have everything sorted into individual folders, it's even easier to do. So let's click on 2D drawings, create a drawing. Then I will select the top open drawer folder and click next. Here now we can specify the orientation, paper format, the scale, and if we would like to have our base views included. Everything what you have here can be adjusted later. Click done. And there we are. When you double click an object, you see we can adjust then the scale very easily. And we can move this around. We can also change, for example, the display style. Let's add some very basic dimensions. So this box should be 16 inches by 16 inches. And here the height, when you hold the Shift key, gives us 6 inches. So you see, this is very easy, not complicated. Material thickness, and so forth. When you double tap and then move the drawing, you see the dimensions actually move with it. This is very, very easy and effective to do. Very good. Let's create a new drawing. Go to items. I would like to create a drawing just for this individual part. So create a new drawing just for this part. 1 to 5, done. There we are. I select this, move this down, bring this to here. This view, for example, might not necessarily give us much information, so we could delete this. This view, however, is good. This we can also bring over and set everything up the way how you would like. And then in the same process, we can select individual edges. We select 2, then we get the length, thickness. Here's, for example, the radius. From the center point to here, what is that distance? From here to there, what is that distance? So you see, very easy. We just click and add the dimensions as needed. Let's add one more drawing. Go to Items, New Drawing, Create Drawing, select this leg. There we are. 1 to 10, done. And also here, we can do exactly the same steps. Here, I select 2 to create the overall height. What is actually the width? You can, by the way, also click on dimensions and then select the individual dimension type. As you see, in my case, very often I click on particular edges to then create the dimension for that individual element. Also here, when we have parallel lines, we can specify the material thickness. And that is how easy it is to create drawings inside Shapr3D. One important aspect of mass production is also getting an understanding of the cost per unit and the raw material that's needed to produce one part. Also, this is very easy to do in Shapr. I have here a pre-made group. And if you take a look at this, this is a standard 4 feet by 6 feet wooden board, material thickness 1/2 inch, which is equal most of the elements we have. And I nicely nested everything onto this wooden board. The idea here is to position everything so we make most use of our wooden board and try to minimize waste production. Obviously, this opening in between here, the frame, there we have open spaces. There's unfortunately nothing we can do about. But you can see here between the individual horizontal groups, I have 1/2 inch, and then between the parts, I have a 1/4 inch distance. The distance is simply set also to be illustrative. You need to specify this based on your own cutting bits. And I make use of the edges of the wooden board, so I can save even cutting time, because also time is money. This whole process of nesting is also very easy. So let me show you how this works. Here, I make a copy of this part, and we have this top frame. Let me isolate this for a moment. You see on the top, we have this groove cut out. So this makes sense to align the bottom part with this target surface. So I will select the bottom face, then I go to Align, and then I can select the target part. And then I move everything into position. There we are. We can also select individual edges like this, and there, perfectly snap them, align them. Zack, there we are. See, beautiful. Okay, now I have this wooden board. So there, I will select the bottom part, go to Align, go to here, and then I move this one to there. So this is perfectly aligned. I can also select this edge to this edge and align them. There we are. They have exactly the same dimension. And now I will move this by hand, 1/4 inch to the side. This piece is actually a duplicate to this. So I only, if we are honest, I have to do this one time. So here, I map this over. There we are. Bring this to here, bring this to there. There we are, very good. Then I move this over, minus 0.25. Very good. Since we have two of these, I make a copy. 5.25 inches. There we are. Very good. You see, this is actually really not very complicated. I would like to go to the bottom drawer and hide actually the frame, because we have also here these elements. See, here we have this cutout. So with this element there again, I would select actually the inside face, then go to align, go to here, then position it, bring this to there. Very good. So that I have actually this cavity put to the top. Because the thing is now, do I have just a cutting tool that cuts the raw pieces out, or do I actually have a CNC machine that also not only cuts the individual parts out, but also does all the details? So for example, these screws will be cut out. I will have here a router bit that will mill the holes for me perfectly, so I don't have to use a drill press. Just the CNC machine does all that for me automatically. So once all the cutting is done, I have actually all the finished pieces. I can finish them and put them together. And that in a nutshell is how easy it is actually to create a nesting, not only for CNC milling, but also for getting an understanding of how much material is being used just for one unit. When talking to a design team or a client, very attractive and convincing product visualizations are very important. Creating those in Shapr is also very easy. We can go to the visualization tool. Then, as you can see, we have the scene shaded with a basic light. We have a drop shadow. Everything is gray. This is because it has the default material. Here are all our materials and the environment. So let's go to default material. Click it. We can adjust the color now. And you see, since all objects have the default material, adjusting the color affects all bodies. By the way, there's no pure black and pure white. Let's make this bright white. We can click on change. Then we can scroll down and select melamine as the material. Click somewhere else a few times. There we are. Now, this whole bottom drawer I would like to colorize. And because we have everything in folders sorted in, this is very easy. Because when we click on the folder, you see only these objects are selected. And now I adjust the color. Click, click, there we are. You see, how easy is that? And as you see, we have now a new black and then the former white material. Beautiful. Now, let's go to bottom drawer, hide the frame. Then we will go to wood, scroll down, and the maple veneer I would like to be associated with these internal elements. This is all still one part, which is why every face gets the material associated to it. And you look around, and it's a beautiful texturing. Looks very realistic. We can also add actually this to the legs and this board. Beautiful. There, very nice. When we go to utility, here we have a very simple transparent material. We put this on top. So now we can tell somebody that this top part is actually a transparent material. See, super easy. To make this design a little bit more visually interesting, we should open the drawer. So let's go back, select drawer, and then we open this. Move this out by 2 inches, 3 inches. You have to decide what will look good. Shouldn't be too big, not too small. This looks meaningful. Okay, let's go back to the visualization tool. There we are. You see now this looks so much more interesting. We know, oh, this is actually not just a black box. It is actually a frame with a pull-out drawer. We didn't really talk much about the environment. Also here, this is very easy and kind of like self-explaining. We have a default material, transparent background, color background. Notice for the color background how everything is slightly tinted based on the color. A gradient background, which is really nice. And then we have other options. You see these spheres, they show various light reflections. And each reflection, kind of like you see, that is kind of like the light of the environment. I'll go back here to this gradient. Then we can click on the cog and rotate the light. This rotates and also, obviously, the shadow. Particularly in product presentations, how shadows work, what I can read from a shadow is a very effective tool. We can also adjust the light, and also for the background, we can adjust the color too. Very good. Click done. Very nice. And then to create a nice presentation, we want to find a really dramatic and interesting looking angle, kind of like this. This really makes this look like a nice architectural element. The highlight is good. It shows that this is not just a flat glossy surface. There's some texture on it. And then to create a screenshot and then to create a capture of this, we can click on the capture button. And that honestly is everything there is to learn about the visualization tool. This is also the end of this presentation. I hope with everything that I demonstrated to you, you find beneficial and that you can improve your own modeling and design capabilities and workflow. And with all that, have a good day.